Hello, everyone. This is Lisa Andrus, Psychic Medium, and this is your weekly reading for March 2nd through 8th, 2015. And this week I'm using the Magical Mermaids and Dolphins Oracle cards by Doreen Virtue. And I'm already getting a message. I was getting it before I started the reading and just figured if it continued and popped in while we were doing it, I was going to say it. And here's the message. There are divine forces at work in your life right now. Your prayers are being answered behind the scenes, even if you do not see results. Miracles are the big word that I hear. Miracles, miracles, miracles. Anything that you think is not possible is, if it is your wish and it is your dream. And they're asking me to tell you, if it doesn't feel good to you, then it's not good for you. And one thing that I'm going through right now is I just moved a couple of months ago, or 3-4 months ago, and I knew that I would buy a house at some point. And all of a sudden I feel like the energy is clearing and that I'm going to buy a house sooner than I expect because I'm becoming very uncomfortable with my apartment. There's just things going on that at the time that I moved in, I wanted this apartment. I thought it was better. I remember thinking it was too expensive, and I actually asked my angels, I want a sale or I want some sort of discount, and I got it, and it was great at the time. I knew it was a little bit smaller than I wanted, but figured I could suck it up for a while and just deal with it. But the one thing I didn't know, because it's one of those buildings where they don't show you the actual unit you get, is that my building is attached to a restaurant. And they didn't tell me it was going to be, my unit would be over basically a loud parking lot. There are delivery trucks all day. There are patrons walking in and out of the restaurant that are loud, that even in the season now with the windows closed, I can still hear it. So I think, it might get more than I'm comfortable with in the summer. I'm uncomfortable with it now. But then I had a moment of thought to myself earlier that, maybe this was divine forces at work. Maybe I needed to get uncomfortable like this to give me the push that I need to what I really wanted my end result to be, which was to buy a place. If I trust that if and when it's supposed to work, it will work. I'm just feeling like all of a sudden, poof, the energy has cleared and somehow my dream's going to come true better than I expect, not work. And so they asked me to tell you that so that you can hear it and know that the very same sort of thing might happen to you. Okay, I have pre-drawn and shuffled the deck, 3 cards for the week. And I have to tell you, when I laid them out before and I went into the other room to grab my camera, I feel like the cards moved. There was, I was just gone for a second. One of my cats wasn't near the table. And it says to me that there, again, are divine forces at work. Okay? So let's see what the Monday, Tuesday card has in store. Playtime, and it says the dolphins know the importance of playing as joy creates miracles and manifestation. Now, as you guys may or may not know, I just went, and I'm sorry for the shaky camera here today. I just went on a vacation, and it was something that I had never done, even though I've always lived in a winter in a very cold climate. I would say out of all the places in the United States, we in Minnesota have it among the worst temperature-wise. And I don't know why I'd never thought of taking a warm weather tropical vacation in winter, but I finally decided I was just going to set aside the money to do it in advance, ask one of my friends if they wanted to meet me, and it was a fantastic week. And I laid at the beach like it was my job. The people that I work with now are asking me, are you tan? And that's what I say. I laid at the beach like it was my job because it was the same amount of sunlight because I was in Mexico. And that means the sun's going down earlier in the day as opposed to longer like it might be in the summer months. And so it was just like, we're going to get down there. We're going to lay on the beach. We're going to have a nice lunch, have some fun. My point being, it was playtime. And I realized when I got home what that did is perhaps allowed me to not sit there and obsess over all my problems like we are very inclined to do as human beings. And perhaps that playtime cleared the air for some of my dreams to come true, like maybe the example I just used of a house. Who knows? But we all have dreams, and sometimes playtime and relaxing is the best way to get your mind off of your problems, because when you constantly worry about them, then you're attaching yourself to the outcome, and it's harder to clear the energy for the dreams to come true. Okay, let's see what we have for the middle of the week. Protection. And it says, you, your loved ones, and your possessions are safe and protected by heaven. You are safe upon this earth. I don't know about you, but I've been feeling very uncomfortable these last couple of days. Part of it is the apartment, but I just feel like it's general, for me, that is, I just feel like it's general discomfort. Like some days as humans, we're just such a burst of heavenly energy that we just get frustrated and we don't know why. But we chose this life on earth. That is what I believe. And we need to know that we are protected at all times. Now, I have to tell you, when I flipped over the card, I also heard pregnancy and protection, meaning if you don't want to be pregnant, it would be the time to either ask about or increase your protection. If you thought you were done having kids, you might not be. So you might want to just think about that and look into it. For instance, if you have a method of birth control that you could get, like, I hear like an IUD or, I don't know, those things that you put into your arms that like they last for a certain time and you think that you're protected, you may not be. So now is your time to look into that. This is your divine guidance. But for the rest of us, to just know that we are safe and protected in all of our dreams and all that we do. Fear is just our mind getting in the way of our goals. And the bigger your purpose, sometimes the harder your life. A lot of us have gone through a lot of stuff in our earlier years to get to the point where we are now. They want me to tell you it's never gonna be as bad as it was. I've had some hard times, and even in the recent past, I've said before, I will say again, my life fell apart a few years ago, and I wasn't sure why. I lost my house, I lost my job, with the economic crisis that we had in the late 2000s. And I was not immune. Now, perhaps my soul chose to learn those lessons, but it still doesn't mean they weren't uncomfortable. I had moments of wondering why I was on this earth, and I know that you have too. And what they want to repeat is you are protected. It's never going to be as bad as it was. It doesn't mean we're not going to have hard times. They also want to say to you, we're not here to know all the answers. We're just here to do what feels good. And when it feels bad, then it's a sign that there's something better for us. And they want to remind you that the lessons best learned are the ones that sometimes are bittersweet, and you don't understand why you're going through them. Okay? Now, for the weekend. Time to move on. And it says, it's time to let go of the old and worn so that the new can come in. Okay, I have to say, the first thing I thought of when I turned this card over is, for me, in the example I was just using, I don't know, I've just been at this apartment for a while. I was going to hang on here for another year, but all of a sudden I become uncomfortable and it's time to move on. I've said this in recent readings, but if you've never listened to one of my readings, sometimes, you better watch out what you wish for, because your dreams will just go like ping, pop, poof. And the message in that is it's time to move on. So as an example, I made some decisions for my life. I would like to, at some point, adopt a child. I would, I wanted to, if I was going to stay in a day job, which felt good to me at the time, I wanted to go back to a company that I had more time invested in that felt better to me. And I got to tell you, I applied for the job. So I had grown up at one company for 12 years. Then I left for a while. Then I went to a competing firm for about 3 years. And then I realized, because there was a while I thought I was going to be self-employed spiritual teacher. And I don't think I was ready for that at the time. I learned things, and one was that I was going to stay in my day job for a while. It feels good to me to know that the income is there. And I thought to myself, though, if I'm going to do that, it's got to be at a place I love. It's not that I didn't like my job before, but I didn't like my commute. And, I knew more people at the place I'd been prior. So I just decided I'm going to start to apply for jobs there. And if I get an interview, I can go to the interview, and if it doesn't feel like it doesn't fit, even if they offer me the position, I do not have to accept. So they want me to tell you that because there are some of you that are looking for new career moves. Now, if you want to start a spiritually based practice, it may not happen overnight. So the message that I just said about moving firms and leaving the company that you're at now, especially if you've hit the ceiling or are frustrated with your current position, it's time to move on, and it's time to look outside the box to do it. So when I did apply for that job, it just happened like almost instantly. It surprised me because I thought I had wanted to change firms for at least 6 months prior, but I thought once I put my energy to it, I'm at mid-career. It's not an entry level or starting position anymore. I just thought, I don't know, I might have to take a pay cut to do this. I might have to, it may not work, and it worked better than I thought, and they paid me more money than I thought, and I got the commute that I wanted. And so if you have been wanting to do that, it's time for you to look. For some of us, this might mean time to move on from a relationship, and time to move on from whatever it might be, the first thing that pops into your head. It's okay for you to let go. They're saying that you've tried hard enough, to make things work, and there's no wrong answer. They want me to talk about my move again because I'm just getting information in that I'm frustrated. As a light worker, I feel like a lot of us move a lot, whether that's relationships, jobs, you name it, homes. And I feel like I have moved a lot. I also just heard that I repeated this pattern. I was divorced in 2004, and I went to a temporary apartment because we sold our house, and I just for the purpose of the divorce, I didn't want to have another house right away. So I went to a temporary apartment, and then I bought a house, actually right around this time of year. And it's funny to me that it's almost the same sort of situation. And while I'm frustrated with that because I've done this before, in a way it seems to me like sometimes the things repeat themselves until they get right. And I remember at that time, when I got the house, I was forced into an area that I didn't want to live in because at the time there was a housing boom. So say for instance, I go to look for a house now, I will know that I'm not going to do it if it doesn't feel good. So, maybe it's an opportunity for me to do that all over again. And so for you, it's just time to move on, time to know that you're safe and protected, and time for a little playtime. Relax and know that everything will work out in many instances better than you planned. I love you all. Have a fantastic week, and I'll speak to you again next week.